How do you manage your day? If you're like I used to be, you wake up, you maybe have a morning routine that you follow, so certain workouts might happen, maybe you go to the gym, whatever it might be, and then you check your calendar to see what appointments you have, you look at your to-do list and say, hey, what are the things I want to get done today? And you might even tell yourself, hey, these things are going to get done today. And then you open your email and all hell breaks loose and you end up on somebody else's agenda for the rest of the day. Not all gets lost though, right? Those certain appointments that are on our calendar, we still show up for, but that to-do list and those things that you said, hey, I'm gonna get to this today. By the time we get to the end of the day, those things aren't done, and then we start to beat ourselves up and we don't even fully understand why. We might tell ourselves why, well, I got distracted with X, Y, and Z, or had this client email come in and then I just had to battle fires all day. And yes, those things do happen. However, because we didn't block out enough time to do the things that were most important to us, those things filled those empty spaces. I was listening to an interview with Nir Eyal recently, and what he said really made all these thoughts inside my head about time management start to click. And what he said is that for distraction to happen, it actually has to take you away from a planned action, because distraction is the opposite of traction, traction being a planned, intentful time to take action on things that'll move you towards your goals. So if nothing's planned, it's hard to say that the email and the fires became a distraction, because that just became what we decided to do to fill the time that had no agenda. So how do you manage your days to combat these empty spaces and to make sure when you set yourself up for something, traction, you actually show up to that and don't get distracted by things that can take you away from that? A lot of people are a fan of the to-do list, and I totally agree that writing things down that you want to accomplish in a given day or a given week or a given month, quarter, year, whatever it might be, can be extremely beneficial. But one thing that wasn't working for me is that those lists just always existed, and it became the never-ending to-do list. And so I started taking those to-do list items and putting them into my calendar. At first, I was not very good at showing up to those time blocks. I'd put in, hey, call these people at this time, spend this time doing email, and I still wouldn't pay attention a lot to those time blocks, and I would go do other things. I'd call them distractions, but what I now realize is I just wasn't showing up for my priorities and was choosing to do something else. So I made a shift to pay closer attention to my calendar, and the tool that I use to keep my day organized is simply a digital calendar. It's actually the Apple Calendar app on my phone and on my computer. All of my accounts sync to these two apps on my computer and on my phone, so at any point in time, I can see what is going on in my day, where I need to be, and what I should be doing. Since this all syncs in real time, if I need to move something, I can just move it on my phone and it shows up on my computer and it works seamlessly. But what about writing things down? If you're using these devices, it could be very easy to get sucked into a social media app or the email app. Wouldn't it be better if you just wrote your schedule down and followed a physical planner? Well, I agree. That can be very beneficial, particularly for a lot of people who lead busy days as entrepreneurs, salespeople, etc. So I recently came across, thanks to a client of mine, Russell Smith, the Time Block Planner by Cal Newport. And this is actually a really, really great tool because it is so darn simple. Basically, when you open it up to the days, you have on the right side of the page, you have your time blocks, and you can set out your time blocks, and if things happen through the day and you need to adjust, there's different columns where you can make those adjustments. And then on the left page, there is a space for collection, writing down all your tasks and ideas that come up through the day. It makes it super simple to stay focused in a place that is away from any of those digital things that might pull us in other directions. You can also use a bullet journal or your own method of writing these things down, or simply be disciplined about how you use your digital calendar. And I like things that are just very straightforward and simple, because it just shows here's what I need to do, at what time, for how long, and where that needs to happen. We don't need anything else clouding our thought process for that specific thing. Now, some people might ask, well, what about larger planners that have a lot more stuff to them, where you can create whole weekly plans, different types of to-do lists, and record actions. I think those can be very beneficial as well, particularly when you're doing reflection and setting things up when you're doing a weekly planning session for yourself. So, for example, if you're in real estate and you follow the Ninja Selling method, you might use something like the Ninja Planner, which has everything laid out in there for you on a monthly and weekly pages where you can get your whole schedule in there. You can have different tasks and things that you want to do, and you can track how you're doing with certain activities. And I think these things can be very beneficial. And there, even if you wanted to time block, you could use the daily things to do that time blocking method. However, if you do get let's say distracted because you have a specific time block set up, but then you start looking at this action item list on the side and start doing those things instead of what you plan to do, you may want to opt for something a little bit more simple for your daily practices. You could even write your schedule on a whiteboard or glass board, whatever it might be, and there's your time blocks right here. I got my whole day right here laid out. That's not how I run all my days, but I thought it'd be fun to make it for this video. And you can then clearly see, what do I need to do? When am I going to do it? For how long? And where do I need to be to do it? There is a level of discipline and self-talk that does need to happen to help us stay on track, because as I said, when I started using my calendar a little bit better, I wasn't showing up for certain time blocks. And at the end of the day, I needed to start having conversations with myself about why I was not showing up for those time blocks. And what ultimately came to is I was allowing other things in my world to distract me, and I wasn't taking a pause to say, wait, what did I set aside this time to do? And then what I discovered is those things that were distracting me, what if I time blocked those as well? What if I put particular times of the day where I responded to emails, where I responded to voicemails, where I responded to text messages? And this started to make things a lot easier for me, and it even improved client communication because I was sure that I was getting back to everybody's messages, and I put good thought into responding to those messages. So don't think that just because you're time blocking certain activities that you're gonna lose sight of those emails and those urgent things that might be coming in. In fact, you might have a greater awareness of being able to address those, because if you're showing up for your time blocks and you set those with intention because you know that those are gonna be the things that help move your life and business forward, then the fires are going to start to become a lot less frequent. Why is this? Because you're going to be more on top of your business and your life, and you're also going to have less stress, which is going to allow you to approach situations with a clearer mind. I know a lot of people, maybe even yourself, have different preferred methods that are tried and true and work extremely well for you, from different types of to-do list apps to different methods of how you journal and pay attention to what's coming up. I will say though, if you are not maintaining a calendar, whatever that form might be for that calendar, if you open it up and there's nothing on your schedule for the day, are you really in control of what's going to happen with your day? Try it out. Give yourself the freedom of a schedule. One of the things that I tell all of the clients that I work with when we go through the weekly routine, because a lot of people get into real estate because they want that flexibility. They want that ability to say, hey, I can kind of live on my own terms, and that's true. But if you put your own structure in place, it's going to set you free. Because what I see with the people who don't have that structure is they become trapped on the agendas of everybody else, their email and their text messages and their clients who want them to respond right now, because that's how they've been trained. So retrain yourself to follow your own schedule, because if you're in control of your calendar, then you're in control of your life.